learned so much directing Insidious 3. It was my first time directing, and I don't think you can ever fully be prepared for directing a film. It's kind of like it's kind of like learning to swim by jumping off Niagara Falls. You're just kind of like, ah! And I learned a lot about what directing really is, and and figuring out that so much of it is just communicating with the crew, just talking to people and being able to communicate your ideas. With the fourth movie, it wasn't so much that I applied anything I learnt directing, but from the experience of Insidious 3, I knew that I wanted to focus on Lin Shaye. Because when we released Insidious 3, one thing the audience really loved is the character of Elise. And so I felt I just wanted to give the audiences more of that.
Yes. Why do you think the audience really connected with the character of Elise?
It's a tough question to answer. I mean, I think Lin Shaye as a person is just really appealing. She's a firecracker of a human being. She's got so much energy. And I think you can feel that. I mean, you know, there is a star quality that certain actors have that they can transmit to the audience, you know, real movie stars. And I think Lin really puts out this positive, you know, effervescent energy.
Yes.
I also think that that Lin's character is a giver. You know, she's somebody who really cares for other people genuinely, and I think audiences love that too.
People who need help with matters that can't be explained come to me. These hauntings can be terrifying things. I should know. I've faced many evils in my life. This was different, though. The haunted house is my family's house.
Your character has come a long way since the first Insidious film. Why do you think you have such a big fan base on the franchise and love your character so much?
Oh, thank you for saying that. I think Elise has appeal because she's a good listener and she's a giver.
A giver.
I mean, I never really articulated that until being asked that question kind of by people, and it made me really think about what is it? Because she's not the prettiest girl in town. We all know that, and it's not. There's some element of her personality that obviously is very appealing, and I honestly think that's a part of it. You know, she really listens, and when you think about our real lives, people are so cluttered with their own thoughts and their own needs and their own. It's become a very me world. Yes. I mean, everybody's what can you do? Me, and she's totally not that. She wouldn't really even know if she put something on or not. She doesn't think like that. She thinks outwardly. She's a good listener and she's a giver.
How did you prepare your character in each phase of her life, especially since each film keeps on going back in time?
That's a great question. Yes, because when we meet her in the beginning, I actually did think about that. And the backstory I built for her myself is different than the backstory we learned that Leigh Whannell provided me with, Leigh Whannell, the writer. So, and fortunately, I think it all sort of feeds into each other. In the beginning, I saw Elise as not having family, you know, that she was maybe an only child. We learn later, and you learn in this one, she's not an only child, and that we learn. That's what we learn in this fourth installment is really about her past. So has continued to evolve, both through what Leigh has written for her and what I've created for her out of my imagination. And it's kind of like a layered, you know, she keeps growing and growing. She's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I think that in the last key, we really, really see what made her who she is and how she's conquered fear.
Yes.
If we can find out what it is, we can stop this curse. To end this evil, I need to go deeper. into the further. I don't have memories from this place. I have scars. I am going to find it, and I'm going to finish it.
Elise, there's someone right in front of you. I don't see anything. Be careful. You're going to touch it.
You mentioned before in earlier interviews about you were influenced by Jaws, The Shining, Exorcist, Poltergeist. Was there any Asian horror influences that also was part of that influenced you as well?
Absolutely. I mean, James Wan and I, when we first started hanging out in film school, he was introducing me to a lot of these films. You know, he lived in Malaysia up until he was 9 or 10 years old before he moved to Australia, and he's Malaysian Chinese, and so he has a lot of these Chinese ghost stories, a lot of Chinese folklore in his family, and he would tell me about it, and he would show me a lot of these films that, you know, growing up in the suburbs of Australia, I hadn't even heard of. And I quickly became obsessed with it, and he and I would go to the Melbourne Film Festival in Melbourne. And of course, this was a time, sort of late 90s, early 2000s, when streaming and Netflix and iTunes was not prevalent. So to see these movies, you really had to go to film festivals. Mm-hmm. And I remember going with him to see Ringu, the Japanese horror film, which I thought was a classic. Hideo Nakata's direction was so amazing, and I was just so obsessed with it. So the answer is yes. We were both really heavily influenced by a lot of Asian horror films.
Yeah, well, mostly East Asian horror.
Yeah, the East Asian horror. I remember, seeing The Eye, the Thai version of The Eye. A lot of Korean horror films. You know, Korea has such a great tradition of these horror films, as well as Japan. And I love it. I think what's great about what a lot of the Asian horror cinema does, as opposed to, say, horror cinema in the US, is there is a whole different approach to what's scary, and also the rules of the situation. I think a lot of the US horror films that I've seen are kind of obsessed with being logical.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of the Asian horror films I've seen follow a more dream logic. That seems to be something that audiences in Asia are really fine with, and I loved that. I think it's much more nightmarish when you don't know what the rules are and you don't know what's going to happen at any given moment, you know?
That's true. Any future plans for making a film based around that?
Oh man, I mean some of the Asian horror films and folklore, you mean?
Yes.
I would love to. I love shooting in other countries, even just shooting my last film in Australia, which is obviously where I'm from, but just the experience of utilizing different locations, different crew members, and I would love to. I really would. It's I think the horror genre, to stay fresh and to stay new, needs always new ideas. You need to be coming at it with new ideas. If you keep treading the same ground,
yes,
it's going to die out. And so I think that looking to other cultures, for me, to other stories in different places, is really the key to keeping it interesting. See, I use the word key again.
Exactly.
I did it.